okay?
Nah, man. I'm pretty fucking far from okay.
It's snakes out there this big?
Hey!
Y'all trying to study me?
Stop fucking with Korean Jesus. He ain't got time for your problems.
Gangbanging and never die.
He busy with Korean
Too much
shit.
love.
What country you from?
You always gonna get niggas.
What ain't no country I ever heard of? They speak English and what?
Damn. How many more motherfucking penitentiaries y'all gonna build?
English, motherfucker. Do you speak it?
How many jars you gonna try to put us in? You know what I'm saying?
Say what again? Say what again?
Love, peace, and hair grease. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ghetto Woke Podcast. This your boy, Big Boy, just sitting here. Another good day. Sitting here chilling and shit. Just paying attention to everything going on in the news and everything. Especially this Harvey Weinstein shit. Like, the thing that tripped me out about all these sexual harassment and all these things is a lot of these women is accepting money. So the fact that they accepting money and the fact that these companies are just paying out all these thousands or millions of dollars or whatever to different people, isn't that a business transaction? I mean, I understand that the motherfuckers do ill shit, and I'm not condoning none of that bullshit these beta male motherfuckers be on. But if the woman takes money from a situation that was illegal, doesn't that make the money that she take illegal also? I mean, I'm sitting here wondering that shit. Like, I noticed that a lot of these people take the money because they say Harvey Weinstein paid off a lot of people over the years. So my whole thing about that is, once you pay the person that you hurt, isn't that the restitution? Isn't that what is required of that person? I mean, because everybody talking about like jail and shit like that, and I don't really see it happening. Because the statute of limitations then wore out on a lot of this shit. And this is the way these motherfuckers have made these laws. To where if you got money, you can work around these different kind of laws. But the whole thing I'm trying to understand is, if these women is taking the money, then don't that make them part of the crime too? I mean, they're actually benefiting off of legal activity. Now, I understand that the illegal activity has happened to them and they're a victim and they need to recover from the situation that happened. But the thing I'm asking is, if they take the money, do they even have the right to say what this dude's doing or anything like that? I mean, I understand that you're trying to prevent him from hurting other people in the future, which is something you should have did by speaking out initially. But, okay, you got paid, and then you waited a while, then you told? Shouldn't it? It's just, in my opinion, I find a problem with that shit. Like, if I'm doing some illegal shit, like, let's say you see me stealing from the store, but I tell you, I'll give you a candy bar if you don't tell on me. And then they take the candy bar. And then I get away with the crime. Didn't that person participate in the crime? I mean, it might be a bad analogy because the store is the victim in that situation, and then this other situation that the women are the victim. But if the victim takes money, does that mean she's condoning what's going on in that situation? I don't know. And then, like, the number one thing with this whole Harvey Weinstein situation is, why the fuck is everybody acting like this motherfucker is that fucking important? Like, Harvey Weinstein ain't really important. Quentin Tarantino, he important. That motherfucker done put together some great movies. But all Harvey Weinstein do is bankroll the operation. He just a motherfucker with a lot of money. He don't do none of the creative aspects, the filming, the writing, none of that shit, directing of the movie. He just puts up money and then they make the movie and then shit, he get his cut, they get their cut or whatever. But why are people acting like this dude is so important in Hollywood? Because I don't really see it. I mean, he did Kill Bill, but like I say, all of those is Quentin Tarantino movies and shit. Now, Gangs of New York, that's a good ass movie. That motherfucker producer, whatever. Even Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks, all that Kevin Smith shit. I can rock with that shit. Miramax then came out with a couple of movies that was kind of cool. But when I look at it in the whole grand scheme of things, like in Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein ain't really that important. He's not really a type of person that I feel the light needs to be shed on so much. Now, yeah, I think we should do some OJ trial shit when they finally prosecute this motherfucker and put that shit on the crime channel or whatever and let people be able to see his whole trial throughout. Now, I agree with that, but I also agree that we need to point the focus on a lot of other motherfuckers around Hollywood and sports and it's other kind of places where a lot of this situation happen. I mean, you can pretty much talk on a blue collar level. You can talk to a lot of fucking waitresses that have been sexually harassed and they can tell you a million fucking stories, but it's not necessarily something that America is really just, I feel, frowns upon. Like, it's always that pig, the dude that you call a pig or an asshole or something like that. And a lot of those dudes fucking exist around the world. I mean, even in this country, it's a lot of motherfucking dudes like that that just pretty much don't give a fuck about the feelings of other people or what they care about or what other people go through. I mean, there's a lot of people out here like that with power. And Harvey Weinstein, I feel like, is a real small fish. He really ain't been popping like he used to. I mean, really, if you look at the motherfuckers he fucked with, like Tarantino, when Tarantino out popping, then Harvey Weinstein popping. But for the most part, this motherfucker is famous for bankrolling a whole bunch of shitty fucking movies. I mean, come on. Like fucking Shakespeare in Love was this nigga's claim to fame. Shakespeare in Love is garbage as fuck to me. I mean, just straight up, it's garbage as fuck. I mean, I like Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio more than I like fucking Shakespeare in Love. Gwyneth Paltrow, I mean, everybody love her because she a skinny white girl, but at the end of the day, she full of shit, and I didn't even think she was that goddamn hot. I mean, I liked her better in Greater Expectations, but, I mean, that's just my fucking opinion. But when it comes to people like Harvey Weinstein and all these other dudes in Hollywood that's been abusing the power, you gotta look at it at the end of the day, it's like this. Dudes gonna do what they can do to get pussy. So you gotta look at it like that. If a dude is not handsome or can't get pussy to chase him, but then that dude might do some fucking weirdo ass, creepy ass, pedophile, rapist ass shit in order to get pussy still. But also you gotta look at the people participating. Like not just the victims, you gotta look at the females that he had helping him get other women to come to his hotel room. Like why is nobody talking about prosecuting any of those women? And then you got the females that took the money and didn't say shit. I mean, it's a couple people I can just off the head think of that grew in fame and money after they fuck with Harvey Weinstein. And I don't mean fuck him like sucked his dick, had sex with him. I'm talking about just hopped in a Harvey Weinstein movie and became a star. Like Gwyneth Paltrow. Even recently, You can look at people like Kerry Washington. Kerry Washington was like a B actress, maybe even a C actress. She always played like the black friend in the white movies, or she been in a couple black movies where she had an actual speaking lines and shit like that. But at the end of the day, after she did Django, she got scandal. So I mean, after dealing with Harvey Weinstein, Kerry Washington's career just blew up, really. I mean, of course, scandal got a lot to do with it, which I don't think Harvey Weinstein got nothing to do with. But you can honestly say after Django, she was pretty much on. I mean, I guess that's just like Lupita Nyong'o. I mean, she did a slave movie, then next thing you know, she was a star on the spotlight. Kerry Washington did the same thing. But apparently Lupita accused Weinstein of doing some shit. I guess he either don't fuck with American black bitches like that, or these bitches sucking that dick and being quiet. Which a lot of motherfucking females I know of do. I always tell people this, like, a hoe will never admit she a hoe. No matter what you do, you can put a gun to her head and she ain't gonna tell you she a hoe. Really, at the end of the day, a lot of women don't really like to admit anything that puts them in a bad light or what they perceive to be a bad light. Because like most females that are considered hoes, like, I like hoes. There's nothing wrong with hoes. If you just really, at the end of the day, what we consider a hoe is a female that enjoys having sex and don't mind talking about it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's just somebody that's sexually free and open. That's not really a hoe. That's not really a derogatory thing. I don't even really look at it as a negative. But at the end of the day, you got to understand society does. Society looks at these women to the point where society holds such a grip down on women and their sexual expression that rape victims don't want to admit that they got raped just because of the embarrassment and you always got them people wondering, like, was she cool with that? See, even when I talk about the females that got paid, I'm not talking about the ones that I'm sitting here wondering, was she cool with it? All I'm saying is, after legal action was committed, her being a witness and a victim, that should automatically put her in a position to want to tell on a motherfucker. But you also got to understand, people have ulterior motives. Like, that same female might want to be a star. And she know that what he doing is going to allow me to be a star or possibly be a star. And then some people will risk that shit. And at the end of the day, I feel Harvey Weinstein, he really is, I don't consider him as the ringleader in this whole situation. Because a lot of females probably done fucked that nigga and made him think that this way of doing things works, so why not keep doing it? I mean, you got to understand that aspect of it too. It's a lot of people, and men and women, that will manipulate and lie in order to get a person to do certain things. Now, I understand that Harvey Weinstein definitely is a person that is manipulating and lying to get whatever the fuck he want. I guess it's just something like perverted sexual type deal. A lot of people say it's the power dynamic, which I can also agree with that. But when I also look at it like, he wouldn't even think this type of shit is okay unless a bunch of motherfuckers then allowed him to do this shit. I mean, that's what enables a person, you know. A motherfucker, if he would have had enough people shut him down and he didn't get no pussy off of this shit, I really feel like he would have stopped doing it. But he didn't stop doing the shit. He been doing this shit for 20, 30 years. And I'm starting to look like, how many motherfuckers really sucked his dick and kept it pushing? I mean, you really got to wonder that shit. And how many people took this money? Like, with this Bill O'Reilly situation. Like, Bill O'Reilly, like paid like 37 million or some shit. He gave a whole bunch of fucking millions to this woman for sexual harassment. But my whole deal is like she took the money. Is that sexual harassment anymore? I mean, I understand initially it's sexual harassment, but it's like America's fucked up to the point where certain ideas really don't even fucking matter. Like morality. Like we sit here and talk about morality, but if a person takes hush money, doesn't that make them a criminal too? Now I understand that that woman is a victim and she's not equal to the person committing the rape. Okay, give that nigga 30 years, 50 years, life. I get a nigga life. But I'd at least throw her a dime or a dove or something. Like, this is a whole little conspiracy type. Ain't that what a conspiracy is when two people get together or three people or multiple people get together and organize some illegal activity? I mean, I just feel like that's what it is because you got a dude that's doing sexual harassment, sexual assault, doing some ill shit, which is against the law. And then when you got a dude that does some shit like that that's against the law, you got people that cooperate. You got lawyers. You got whoever draws up these papers. You got whoever does any of this type of shit. All these people got something to do with the fucking crime that's happening. So if all these different people, including the victim that take the money, the lawyer that write the paper, I'm talking about the agent or the publicist that does the phone call, everybody is participating in a criminal activity. So shouldn't everybody go to jail? I mean, that's just how I was raised. If you break the fucking law, you face fucking consequences to breaking the law. And I feel like it's more than just Harvey Weinstein breaking the law in this situation. I mean, I'm pretty sure Harvey Weinstein ain't the one calling these victims and talking to the victim directly. The victim probably got a lawyer, and then Harvey Weinstein got a lawyer. And they lawyer is basically making a deal on a criminal activity that happened. I just find that shit kind of odd. Like, that nobody is talking about the fact that it's a lot more people breaking the law than just this one person that's involved. Like the Terry Crews situation. Terry Crews got sexually assaulted by an agent in Hollywood, and they suspended this dude for a month. Now he already back to work. I mean, the dude already back to work. Really, that's not no consequences, because when you already rich and you got to take a month off without pay, that ain't really hurting you too bad. Especially the fact that you know you coming right back to work. I mean, I understand if you got fired and your money wasn't that fat and now you got to look for a job and you got this black mark on your name, but you got a month suspension for touching a dude's dick. I mean, literally, like, what would happen if I walked up to a female and grabbed her pussy like everybody saying Donald Trump did? You don't think I'm going to jail? Hell yeah, I'm going to jail. But this dude, the fact that he took a suspension, the fact that his company suspended him, the fact that Terry Crews came out publicly about this situation that had happened should show you that the motherfucker did the shit. Now, if the motherfucker did the shit, then shouldn't the motherfucker go to jail? Or shouldn't some kind of charges be brought up? But nah, his company is actually knowing that he did some fucked up illegal shit and pretty much condoning the activity. Yet we still let these companies go on. We still let these people maneuver and operate around Hollywood like they want to. And it's really with no consequences. And then when I say no consequences, people will say, well, he did get a month without pay, but is that enough of a punishment for sexually assaulting somebody? I mean, a month? I mean, Brock Turner raped the fucking bitch. He raped the fucking female. behind a dumpster. This nigga raped a female behind a dumpster, and they fucking gave his ass 6 months, and he got 3 months off for good time. So this motherfucker did 3 months for raping a bitch behind a dumpster and getting caught, and she was passed out. What type of shit is that? But I mean, that's just how the world works. People gotta understand that these laws and shit has been made for this situation right here. Like, I don't really believe in white privilege. I really believe that it's money privilege. If you got money, it don't matter what the fuck you do. Like, niggas will bring up OJ all day, but OJ had money. That's why OJ got off. Straight up. And I ain't even saying he did the shit, because it's more to it than just OJ. Like, OJ wasn't even living there. It's public record that OJ had been separated for a couple of years. So, who's to say she didn't have multiple boyfriends and them niggas was tripping with each other? I mean, it just don't make sense that a dude that's already broke up with the bitch fucking just all of a sudden, knowing she out here fucking around in the town, just all of a sudden go kill her? That shit don't make no sense to me. And just the fact that everybody think he's automatically guilty, if it is a motherfucker that actually did that shit, that motherfucker got away scot fucking free. And ain't nobody paying attention to none of the other boyfriends of Nicole Simpson. But I mean, we kind of get one-sided when we pay attention to just one angle. We don't ever think about, well, maybe what about this and what about that? See, I'll constantly be thinking about shit like that. Like, I listen to people talk about Harvey Weinstein, and they be like, oh, he's such a great, and I'm like, what? This nigga did The Faculty. This nigga did Senseless. I mean, he was alright. I mean, this nigga wasn't no Scorsese. I mean, even Tarantino is the shit. But that's not Weinstein. Weinstein ain't did nothing but fucking front some money to these motherfuckers that's trying to make movies. And people are saying, like, that's Hollywood. That's not Hollywood, my nigga. He really just a money man. You got people that, I mean, casting couch porn. Look at that shit. That's the director and the other motherfuckers that's in charge of casting. How many casting directors in this fucking city done got some pussy? And that's just my city. I'm talking about Hollywood. You don't think every casting agent in Hollywood is using their title to get some fucking pussy? I mean, that's just an easy shortcut. They got what you need. You got what they need. So fair exchange ain't no robbery in some of these situations. Now, when you using your power, like, just because I know who I am, I know this person ain't gonna tell. See, that's that bullshit. But that need to be worked out in a court of law. And the best way to get to that court of law is tell on a nigga as soon as he do the shit. Don't hold out because of no money. Because you making the fact that you took money and the fact that you stretched it out so long, a lot of these motherfuckers, I feel like is going to get away with this shit. And that's just a fact. A lot of these motherfuckers getting away with it because we focusing on Harvey Weinstein when it's how many money men in Hollywood? How many motherfuckers been doing this shit for years? I mean, look what this nigga Corey Feldman talking about. Now they talking about it's pedophiles, but who the fuck didn't already know that? I mean, you gotta look at motherfuckers like Michael Jackson wasn't the only pedophile back in the day. It's been plenty of motherfuckers. Even our Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastert, that motherfucker turned out to be a pedophile. I mean, come on. These motherfuckers are out here, Catholic priests, and on and forth. A Catholic priest is using the fact that he's supposed to be the voice of God to manipulate these little boys, and they're having sex with them. It's the same power dynamic. I mean, just like a Hollywood director that know It's just like my boss. He ain't never yelled at a nigga, but if he wanted to, he can yell at a nigga. Cause I gotta pay my motherfucking rent. And I ain't got no NAACP that's gonna swoop down on me when I get fired. They only fucking when niggas is getting killed by the police or beat up or some shit like that. Donald Trump gotta talk shit about you for the NAACP to really care about a black person. You really gotta be a victim. That's the only way they gonna fuck with you. It's just so they can get their publicity. I mean, that's just how the world works. It revolves around money at the end of the day. And as long as these people got money, they ain't going to jail. And even if they do go to jail, they gonna be rich in jail. That's just how it is, because you could take away Harvey Weinstein from the Weinstein Corporation. You could fire Kevin Spacey from House of Cards. You can do all this and all that. But at the end of the day, these motherfuckers gonna keep doing what they doing because they got money, man. That's what it is. Everybody talk about capitalism. This is one of the what you call it, side effects of capitalism right here. You're gonna have a lot of women willing to give up that thing to get into a starring role, and then you got a lot of dudes that's gonna be willing to put them in that leading role so they can get paid. I mean, that's just how it is. This is capitalism, baby. That's just how it is. Whoever got power. And I'm pretty sure the communist motherfuckers was getting pussy too. Motherfuckers like Stalin. I'm pretty sure Stalin then used his power to get some pussy plenty of times. And it ain't like the movies where you just rape a motherfucker. A lot of these females are so scared they just do whatever they told. I mean, look at this Russell Simmons situation. And I notice a lot of people like the Breakfast Club and Hot 97 or whatever, all these main media, radio people and all these media outlets, ain't nobody talking about Russell Simmons. I mean, this nigga Russell Simmons, first he got hit in like 91 for really like doing some shit with another fucking Hollywood dude, Brett Ratner, the motherfucker that directed Rush Hour and all that type of shit. He got a bunch of movies out. Look at him, Brett Ratner. Well, apparently Russell Simmons was fucking with a female, had her in the hotel room, was playing rough with her and did all this, and Brett Ratner was supposed to be just sitting there watching. And then this is another thing. Like, the female say that he forced her to do oral sex on her. Now, that means you suck that nigga's dick. Now, come on, at the end of the day, my nigga, if a nigga fucking got a gun to my head and he pull his dick out, I'm gonna bite that nigga's dick off. Now, I'm pretty sure Russell Simmons didn't have a gun in your head and you just sat there and sucked the nigga's dick. Now, I understand that can even be a fear, like you was so scared, you was scared of your life, so you just comply. I understand that. And that's why that motherfucker needs to go to jail. But at the same time, you need to be held accountable too. Now, this particular female I'm talking about, I think she called the police. And I think she went to the police station. But I think Russell Simmons, the amount of money he had at the time, I think he wiped that shit on out. But now they got another female that's coming talking about she was like a waitress or something like that. See, also I look like this can be a possible thing that killed the first woman's case. You got other people coming out trying to get money. And at the end of the day, the money becomes more important than actually dude going to jail. Like Russell Simmons apparently had another female, had her in the fucking, offered her a ride home. So he didn't take her on a ride. I mean, I guess he didn't take her home. He went somewhere else, I guess to his house or a hotel or whatever. But she apparently went upstairs with him. So that right there, you got in the car. Then y'all had to pull up somewhere. So when you get out the car, you got access to run right there. Then you go upstairs. and you say it's out of fear, I can understand how somebody can feel like, because this nigga probably got bodyguards and some more shit. So I can understand how you might be scared and you might not want to do the wrong thing. But then you go upstairs and fuck the nigga? See, that part right there, I really don't understand. But then I still don't understand how ain't none of y'all on Instagram making no posts or Facebook or Twitter, anything, YouTube. Ain't none of y'all doing none of this shit to let the people know what's going on. Because I'm really thinking about future victims too. Like if you went through such a horrific situation and you didn't want to talk about it, at least think about the other women. I mean, this nigga really runs a tantric yoga. This nigga got like a chain of tantric yoga places. If that ain't the ultimate nigga that's trying to get pussy, especially young pussy, I don't know what it is. I mean, that's literally like the perfect place. That's like if you a pedophile, go to fucking Disneyland. That's where they fucking go. Because that's where the kids at. That's where all the action at. And Disneyland need to work on that shit. And understand that a lot of these grown motherfuckers, you need to pay attention if they riding rides or not. Because I'm pretty much sure that a lot of them old motherfuckers and a lot of older motherfuckers is there to look at them kids. But that is literally like a honeypot for kids. Disneyland, of course, it's a fun park. So if you're a pedophile and you want to see kids, that's where the fuck you go. And if you a fucking, like, nigga that want to fuck a whole bunch of young bitches, how about you just open up a yoga studio, especially young white girls. You know that's that nigga's forte. So, you gotta look into this shit, my nigga. I mean, this nigga just got caught on TMZ like earlier this year, sitting in the window trying to holler at some young bitches and try to get them to come to his yoga studio. So that right there is like a dead giveaway that this nigga's a predator out here. And I mean, this nigga was so lame on this shit, he had to drop Oprah's name just to get the bitches' attention because they didn't even know who this nigga was. So I'm sitting here like, damn, this nigga leaning in the car looking thirsty than a motherfucker. But, he a legend. We gotta fucking protect our legends. And, man, fuck these old ass, washed up ass niggas. I mean, straight up. If these niggas done did some bullshit and these niggas is out here taking pussy and some more shit like that, these niggas need to go to jail, straight up. Why y'all sending niggas to jail for having weed and sending niggas to jail for doing shit like child support? How about sending a couple niggas to jail for fucking raping bitches and not let them niggas pay their way out of this shit? Because it seems to me that this is all that's going on at the end of the day. A lot of motherfuckers just paying their way out of a fucking situation. And this shit really starting to bug a nigga like, damn. Like, I literally committed a crime. I went to fucking jail. But I didn't never have to blame nobody else but myself. I had accountability because I committed those crimes. The state gave me a certain amount of time I had to do for that. I did it. I paid my debt to society. And I'm good. I'm a fucking citizen of the United States and a taxpayer. But at the end of the day, what they don't really let you know is a lot of these motherfuckers out here is just fucking paying their way out of fucking jail. I mean, these niggas is just paying their way out of the shit, and it's really nothing that a lot of people can do because that's how these laws are structured. These laws are structured towards just being able to have it. Hey, this is basically like this. If you got enough money, 99% of the time you gonna get out of that shit. And that's how America is built. I mean, even these politicians, one of the richest neighborhoods in the United States comes from government lobbyists. These dudes is literally good at talking. Basically, they way out of shit. And I mean, we just allow this shit to go on. But I mean, it is what it is, man. Everybody know, man, you gotta pay to play. And if you got that dough, man, you're gonna be able to get away. I don't think Russell Simmons going to jail. I highly doubt that shit. That nigga got too much money. I mean, at the end of the day, and then now we got Amanda Seals from Insecure, and this bitch done got on my nerves plenty of times because this is another one of these black motherfucking bitches that grew up in the suburbs, ain't never really been around no hood shit, and then they get out of college and then want to start quoting motherfuckers like Asada Shakur and, you know, Maya Angelou and motherfuckers like that. But then you sitting there like, okay, you talking about police brutality, my nigga, but have you ever even got hemmed up by the police? Have you ever got fucked up by the police? I mean, I done got fucked up by the police plenty of times. I done got hemmed up over 100 times. I mean, around here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you out basically where they can see you in the hood somewhere, they gonna get you. Straight up. They don't give a fuck. They finna run you for warrants and make sure that your ass ain't got no warrants and you ain't finna go to jail. But now you got motherfuckers like Amanda Seals talking about Russell Simmons asked her did they ever fuck. And now this is the new offensive thing. See, I feel this shit right here is helping this nigga's case get wiped out because all you gotta do is keep coming out with people that's talking about bullshit like that. If he said, have we ever fucked? And now they making it seem like, oh, that's rape now. The new rape is just asking a bitch, have we ever fucked? I mean, see, this is the type of shit that takes all the attention off the fact that this nigga got actual fucking rape cases. See, people will stop paying attention to that and start paying attention to this celebrity like, oh, this motherfucker, he asked, have they ever fucked? I mean, why is that even a problem? That ain't illegal, is it? Is it illegal to ask somebody, have y'all ever fucked? What if you don't know? He could have fucked. I'm pretty sure Russell Simmons done fucked a lot of bitches in his lifetime. I mean, that's what that nigga like to do. He fuck with models and shit. I mean, that's just how the game goes. But then you look at shit like this and then you wonder like, and these is like HuffPost and Blavity and all the motherfucking like black news outlets, they'll sit here and talk about bullshit like this and then not pay attention to the real shit that's going on to where it's like, hey, ain't this nigga supposed to go to jail for rape? I mean, at the end of the day, see, in my opinion, a lot of black people don't give a fuck because if it's anything bad, like we don't want to talk about our own kind in a bad light, but that's really a problem because you also, I feel like you lose the respect of the youth. Because when I was a kid, anytime one of my parents or any person that I looked up to did some hypocritical shit, I wasn't really in a position to call them out on it, but at the same time, I did like lose a little bit of respect here and there for people that I catch doing hypocritical shit. And I feel like this news media, like, look at this nigga Charlemagne. This nigga Charlemagne love talking about everybody, this and that, but he sure ain't talking about Russell Simmons right now. I mean, Angela Yee bringing the nigga up, but she ain't really elaborating too much. And this nigga Charlemagne quiet than a motherfucker. But ain't this nigga like the main nigga that's speaking up for women? So, I mean, this nigga then literally got accused of raping 2 women. 2 women so far then came out and said Russell Simmons raped them. Now, they ain't talking about sexual assault or sexual harassment. They talking about rape. Like, one female got anally penetrated against her will, and the other female, he supposedly had full-on sex with her. And I mean, these is the ass old niggas. At the end of the day, these the creepy ass old niggas that get protected by, in my opinion, more creepy ass old niggas. Charlemagne, you ain't no young nigga. So I don't really expect you to speak on the niggas that we perceive as legends like Russell Simmons or Jay-Z, knowing that Jay-Z was fucking Foxy Brown when she was like 14 or 15. But ain't nobody gonna speak up on that shit because niggas want to protect the image of the people that they hold dearest. It's kind of like you could talk about God all day long, but God did some fucked up shit even in the Bible, the book he wrote. But people don't really talk about that. They only like to talk about the good shit when they got an emotional investment in somebody. So when it comes to people like Jay-Z, we don't want to think of him as a pedophile because he's a good father and a role model and he's a successful businessman and all that shit. But it's like, hey, my nigga, you was fucking a bitch when she was like 14 or 15 and you was grown. But we don't really want to pay attention to that type of shit because these are our legends. Like the fact that DMX is a crackhead and he's sitting here himself on a daily basis. We laugh and then... Yeah, like I really lost all respect for this nigga Swiss Beats. Cause Swiss Beats would get on here like, yeah, I'm working with my homeboy and all this type of shit. But if you was really that nigga's homeboy, you wouldn't let that nigga come on camera looking like no fucking crackhead, my nigga. Let's be honest. DMX look like a fucking smoker. That nigga be twitching and all type of shit. And that shit really be like, on some real shit, on the inside, that shit bring like a tear to my eye, my nigga. Cause that's like seeing somebody I looked up to for the majority of my childhood. I'm looking up to this nigga, respecting this nigga, and at the end of the day, this motherfucker's a fucking smoker. A nigga look down on. Niggas don't fucking respect crackheads. Niggas don't respect drug addicts at all. And even though we got family members that we love and all that type of shit, we don't respect them. We don't fucking let them in the house and leave them motherfuckers alone around our shit because we know they'll steal that shit. Niggas ain't got no respect for that shit. Niggas just got loyalty through blood. But at the end of the day, when you look at niggas like DMX, even this nigga Joe Budden talk about being a fucking smoker and addicted to drugs and all this type of shit. And we give this nigga a pass. I mean, why do these niggas deserve so much respect? And these niggas didn't even respect themselves enough not to get hooked on a fucking drug. I mean, come on, my nigga. And then we look at these niggas as intellectuals and dropping jewels. Understand, this nigga was dropping jewels when he was also fucking addicted to drugs and popping pills and all that type of bullshit, smoking crack. What the fuck? When the fuck did we start respecting the crackheads? Now, I got a bunch of crackheads around my hood that I love, but I don't respect them motherfuckers. I don't look at them niggas as role models. Crackheads give the most advice, but niggas don't be listening to that shit. Because at the end of the day, we looking at it like, nigga, what you doing with it? That's why I don't try to give too many niggas advice, because niggas don't really listen to it. But at the end of the day, if I'm sitting here smoking crack, trying to give you advice on business, how the fuck would I expect you to receive that shit? I mean, come on. And we don't really just fucking put no heat on none of these fucking legends. Like R. Kelly still walking around selling shows out. He married Aaliyah when she was 15 years old, then got caught on video pissing on another fucking kid, and we still fucking go to these niggas' concerts, support these niggas' music when they come out. I mean, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck can we blame white people for not having no integrity and not caring when at the end of the day we do the same shit with our people? I mean, what the fuck? Like Russell Simmons, he didn't dropped out of some of his business ventures, but this nigga ain't dropped out of no fucking money. He just took his name off of the shit. That don't mean he don't own this shit no more. That don't mean he still ain't getting paid off of it. He doing that shit for y'all dumb motherfuckers that still gonna go buy that shit, still gonna watch it, still gonna support that nigga, whatever the fuck he do, just because the nigga got money. That's the only reason we respect these niggas. Because if the nigga was smoking crack or raping bitches and the nigga was poor, we'd be like, send that nigga to jail and throw away the key. But these motherfuckers got money that they putting in other people's pockets, and we look at this shit like, oh, whatever he doing, it's all right. And we'll never say it's all right. But at the same time, we condone these niggas' actions by continuing to support their business and their livelihoods. And we act like we don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, that's what it is. I mean, you gotta understand that shit. I mean, it's like niggas like Tupac. Everybody loved Tupac. Everybody sucked Tupac's dick because he was such a good rapper. Okay, I understand this nigga was a good rapper, but you gotta understand he went from some pro-black shit to some wannabe gangster shit, which is totally against some pro-black shit. Cause you walking around socking on niggas and fighting and talking about fuck this and fuck that and gang banging and all that type of shit. And at the end of the day, my nigga, what's pro-black about that? How the fuck is you for black people and every time a nigga see you, you talking about whooping on a nigga, killing a nigga, shooting a nigga, doing all this type of shit? Nigga, fuck you when I see you and all this shit, causing all this division in the black community, or East Coast, West Coast, causing all this fucking division, and you expect us to really look at you as a pro-black person? Come on. That's why this generation don't fuck with Tupac like that, because we actually see the real. I mean, I grew up listening to fucking Tupac. But once I got old enough for my mind to put shit together, I look at this nigga's old interviews and see what this nigga talking about. Then I listen to the nigga's new interviews and see what the nigga talking about. And then I look at the videos and all this type of shit. And then you start to recognize that, damn, this nigga ain't pro-black like we think he is. This nigga really out here stunting for this money. Because at the end of the day, when I looked at the video when the nigga was like a teenager or whatever, he seemed like a suck-ass nigga. He looked like one of them old suck-ass niggas that try to read a bitch poetry and do all that shit. And don't get me wrong, I was one of them type of niggas at one point in my life. I used to write bitches love notes and all love letters and all that type of shit. Because I thought that's how you got the pussy. Because at the end of the day, it was from being raised around situations with a lot of women. And then you hear what women want. You hear different shit that they like or different shit that they deem romantic. And then you want to do that shit for the girl you like. But then you do that shit and she like, nigga, what the fuck is this shit? And then you get clowned for the shit and you like, damn. So it ain't really like my mama and my aunties and all them told me it was like. At the end of the day, you might find out that, damn, some of these bitches ain't shit. And we already know a lot of these niggas ain't shit. But then you find out some of these bitches ain't shit and you like, okay, so the world is a lot different than I thought it was originally. I mean, I feel like that just comes from people growing up. And then you grow up and see different shit like, and then you start to wonder like, damn, is this how the world really is? But at the end of the day, I don't really focus on all of the negative shit. I just focus on shit. Like, I look at this nigga Tupac, and he was on some pro-black, let's get together, Marcus Garvey type shit at first when he was young. But I don't really think that shit got that nigga that pussy. So I think that nigga had to switch over to some different shit. And basically, shit, I know a lot of niggas in the hood that gangbang really for popularity and for pussy at the end of the day. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, when I started gangbanging, that definitely had a factor. The fact that a bitch look at a nigga a whole different way when she find out a nigga from a set. And then she see how you interact with your homies and see that you respected by your peers, then that might get you the pussy at the end of the day. I done seen plenty of niggas that act like they gangsters. And when they around the homies, we might look at that nigga as just like our friend from school. But then you hear this nigga fucking with a bitch, or you might end up in a circle with one of the bitches that he was fucking with, and then you hear about how gangster this nigga is and how much shit this nigga be doing and how crazy this nigga is. And then you be like, nah, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't never hate on a nigga. Like, you don't never tell the bitch, like, that nigga ain't really no gangster like that. But in your head, you like, nah, that nigga don't even be on that type of shit. Really, that was like the poetry nigga of the clique. You find out that the poetry nigga is like a super thug when he go on the other side of town. And there's plenty of niggas like that just fake it till they make it. So at the end of the day, I really think Tupac, that nigga Tupac was faking it until he made it. Because at the end of the day, if you look at the nigga's video when that nigga was like a teenager, when the nigga had the little colored hair and shit like that, he was a whole different type of nigga than the gangster nigga that we see. When we think of Tupac, we think of Bishop off Juice, or the nigga he played on Poetic Justice. We think about this nigga's acting roles as who this person is, and then we mix it with the music, and then you get an image in your head like, damn, this is the type of nigga Tupac is. But at the end of the day, you gotta look at it like this, my nigga. This nigga Tupac got shot in New York, a city he grew up in. I mean, Tupac was like 15 when he left New York. So, I mean, he probably got his first piece of pussy in New York. He probably did a lot of the shit for the first time in New York. Probably smoked weed for the first time. Fucked. Probably drove a car. Did all this shit for the first time in New York. So the fact that we even considered this nigga a West Coast nigga is crazy to me. Because I was literally born in California. And the part of California that they say Tupac is from, that's like a white area. So every time motherfuckers be like trying to put shit together like, oh, Tupac was this and Tupac was that, I be like, my nigga, you gotta look deeper into that shit, my nigga. Like the perfect example of what Tupac was, in my opinion, Tupac went from Sharif off Menace to Society to Kane. And what I mean by that is Sharif was like the deep, intellectual type brother in the clique. Like every clique got one of them niggas too. Like every nigga in the hood ain't just no dumbass, gangster ass nigga. Like I was never just a dumbass, crash dummy ass nigga. And I was never just a super smart nigga. I mean, I got a lot of homies that consider me like a nerd or whatever, but I had some niggas that I grew up around that I knew for a fact was way smarter than me, man. And I used to hang with them niggas for that reason. Like, I hung with a lot of niggas that it was just because they were smarter than me. I mean, it's just like how you pick a mentor. You pick somebody you can kind of look up to. But in the hood, we didn't really have mentors. So, where I'm from, man, your mentor fuck around be your homeboy. You might have a homeboy that had a mama and a daddy. And you might look at that nigga like, damn, I wish I had a mama and a daddy. But you don't. So, I mean, you hang around that nigga because you admire that nigga. I don't even look at it as like, I want what that nigga got exactly. Like, I don't want his mama and daddy. It was just like, it'll be nice to have a mama and daddy, and it's cool interacting with somebody that does because they get a whole different way of life. Even though y'all stay in the same hood or whatever, you still interact with different people from different socioeconomic groups, all in the same hood. I mean, just having a daddy with a job and a mama with a job put a nigga in a whole different bracket than a nigga who got a single mother and y'all stay in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Y'all might stay in a Section 8 house, but every house in the hood ain't a Section 8 house. So you got people that own their house in the same hood as people that's renting through welfare or through Section 8. I mean, we stopped having Section 8 like in the 90s because they said my mom was making too much money. And that's when we really got poor. Is when we got off of fucking government assistance. But at the end of the day, when I look at niggas like Tupac, I mean, what I mean by Kane is, see, Kane had, in Menace to Society, that nigga had a grandma and a grandpa that was on their square. They just stayed in the hood. That's what people don't understand, too. They think that all the people that stay in the ghetto is lazy, poor, whatever. But if you look at that movie Menace to Society, you can see right there. I think his pops was like a preacher or something. And even if he wasn't a preacher, he a working nigga because understand, even the church in the ghetto is full of like working people. People with jobs and shit. A vast majority of the people in the ghetto got jobs. It ain't all Section 8 motherfuckers. I mean, it might be some projects or something like that. Yeah, that might be a majority Section 8 people, but I'm talking about a neighborhood or just a large area. Like it might be a square mile area that you consider your ghetto. But you gotta understand there's a lot of different socioeconomic people, classes in that one area. And growing up in the hood, I grew up around a lot of niggas that was in two-parent homes and really didn't have to gang bang and really didn't do none of that type of shit. I mean, I didn't have to gang bang because of the position my mama put me in, but you know, stupidity sometimes rules when you're young. But when you look at niggas like, it's just like, I don't try to hate on Tupac because I love all Tupac's fucking music. I think that nigga's definitely a rap legend. He definitely in the top 5 when it comes to rap artists. But it's just missed me with that gangster shit. That nigga wasn't no gangster. He really like told on some niggas, which is really like some square ass shit. A lot of people say it's some snitch ass shit, but I ain't really saying that. I'm saying it's like some square ass shit. Because if you a square nigga, telling the police who did it is like the thing you do. I mean, if you from the hood, you got a little hood code and all that shit, so most niggas know better, but if you a square ass nigga, like I seen plenty of square ass niggas come to the hood, and them niggas used to get on my motherfucking nerves, cause I'm looking at these niggas like, why the fuck are you over here? Like, nigga, I wish I was at where you was at. You stay in the suburbs or in a better neighborhood or in a gated community or some shit like that. And I'm looking at these niggas like, why y'all coming to the hood trying to hang with us? Like, what sense does that make? Like, nigga, we wish we was over there fucking with y'all. And that's what a lot of niggas that ain't from the hood don't understand is the niggas in the hood don't want to be in the hood. We just basically got drafted into this shit. We didn't enlist. So basically, like, nigga, we trying to get out. But you'll never think by like the mainstream media and shit like that, you'll never think that it's people that want to fucking be hood that ain't hood. And I really think it's a lot of people like that. Like, look at CNN. You got motherfuckers like Angela Rye. Angela Rye on CNN. This bitch came from a good home, had a strong black father. He was a revolutionary and all that shit. So he made her do her homework and go to school. She graduated college and all that shit. No, she ain't stayed nowhere in nobody's ghetto. But she be acting ghetto than a motherfucker. And I be thinking that shit playing. Like, look at this shit, my nigga. Why is you acting ghetto than a motherfucker when you ain't got to? And you ain't even from the ghetto. Like, you from like a middle class, like good home, got a mama and a daddy, stable, ain't never had to worry about missing a meal or the electric getting cut off or none of that type of shit. And then you sitting here acting ghetto. I really feel like that's a mockery of our culture. And I'm not even like bragging about being ghetto. Cause if I would have had the choice, I wouldn't have wanted to fucking be ghetto. But I mean, it is what it is. I talk like I talk. I could talk another way. I could try to talk a little bit more proper and all that shit, but that ain't how I fucking talk. So I'm not finna act fake for nobody. If you can't accept me talking the way I talk, then fuck you. Talk to somebody else and see how much that conversation go. I mean, I just look at it like that. But then you got niggas that we look up to as a gangster, like Tupac. Most white people will say Tupac a gangster. But they don't know he came from a black nationalist environment where it was really like a good home this nigga came from. Then after that, he went to music school. And then, I don't know how, but this nigga ended up with a white family and living a good life. Then this nigga was on Digital Underground. Then this nigga became a rapper. I mean, come on, look at all this shit. After he raped a bitch. Another nigga. But we look at these niggas as our legends and it's like they name can't be touched. Well, at the end of the day, if Tupac was alive, that'd be the first thing I ask that nigga. Like, what's up with that bitch? You really raped that bitch? And come on, my nigga. You seem like you was already like a sucker for love ass nigga at the beginning. And I easily see how a sucker for love ass nigga can easily switch over to that gangster shit because it's more appealing to these hoes. Trust me, my nigga, I done did everything in the world. I'm a fat, ugly nigga. I done did everything in this world to get pussy. But I ain't never took it. I ain't never raped a bitch or none of that type of shit. Shit, I know my tricks. I done wore fake gold before to get some pussy. I mean, I have no standards. I'll lower myself to any level that a female will lower herself to. So if I can wear a fake gold chain and you're a fucking nigga with a fake gold chain just because he got a gold chain, then we both assholes. And I'm cool with that. But then you got niggas like Tupac that sit here and imitate what he think is cool and what he think is appealing. I think people should have paid attention to the movie Juice and then pay attention to that nigga's interview that nigga did and see how that nigga really talk and then see how the nigga talk on Juice. That's all you gotta do is pay attention to that shit. And then Tupac might not be the gangster legend that you think. Now when it comes to lyricism and being a rapper and all that type of shit, yeah, I put Tupac in my top 5. But to say this nigga's a real nigga, hell nah, this nigga not no real nigga. Because first of all, you got shot in New York by some niggas you knew who shot you. And then you start talking about some other niggas implicating these niggas in the crime. At the end of the day, that is some snitch shit. But like I say, I don't call it snitch shit. I call it square shit because it's also what a square nigga gonna do. A square nigga gonna call the police. Just know that. Know that if they get into a situation where some gangster shit involved, yeah, they'll sit there and talk the talk and walk the walk and act like a gangster. But when it really go down, nigga, they gonna get shut the fuck down. And that's just how it is. I mean, I done seen it happen a million times. I mean, at the end of the day, Tupac did that shit. Everybody know it's public record that he started talking about who shot him. So why is you telling it publicly who the fuck shot you? One, if you really a gangster, you gonna go get at them niggas. You ain't gonna tell nobody. But niggas don't pay attention to that shit. We just listen to the nigga music, watch the niggas movies, and be like, oh, this is Tupac. This is who Tupac is. And we keep that fantasy in our head. It's the same thing with niggas like DMX. Niggas keep that legend of DMX, that flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. That and there was X. When that nigga was at the height of his motherfucking career. When we praised that nigga the most, when that nigga was off in movies, I mean, when that nigga was out here being a fucking star, yeah, we praised the shit out of DMX. But then all of a sudden, bam, this nigga showing himself as a crackhead and all that shit. And I feel a lot of motherfuckers want to clown a nigga. And I feel like clowning a nigga is the best thing you can do for the nigga. But I really feel like niggas that ain't speaking up and talking about what the fuck's really going on, like Tupac dead. So you can't really front on that nigga and be like, or you can't really push